Hey folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 28th of January 2020. Today we're going to have a look at a potential trade that's setting up on the S&P. At the beginning of last week, we saw the S&P kind of take a bit of a dump, which I think many people have been watching for quite some time in anticipation. I mean, if you look at the monthly chart, I mean, this thing has been racing and it's never been this high. I mean, well, at least my broker has no historical data, so I can't see, but it's been going up and up and up and up, and every pullback it was bought. Okay, notice here that we're currently kind of reaching, if we look at the current month of trading, which we are almost through, we're having a bit of a breakdown, as you can see. Okay, we have uncertainty in the market, we have spinning tops after a period of accumulation, and this candle of accumulation, we don't know, because of this candle, if the body of this month closes within the range of the previous, well, then we have uncertainty as to the future direction of the S&P 500, and this is really interesting, and this is a very potentially lucrative scenario. Okay, so if we manage to kind of close within the range of last month, then I think we will see some interesting things happen with the S&P 500. If we have a look in the weekly chart, we note here we do have an upward sloping trend line, a very clear one, and we do have price gapping low. And what does that mean? Well, when price gaps lower like that, if price is going down one week and the following week price gaps down lower, well, that means that there are no buyers. This is a liquidity void, meaning there's no liquidity there either side of the market. And so what price has to do is it has to move to the side of the market where there are market participants willing to buy or sell, and we don't have that. Between here and here, you can see there's nothing. There's just black space. So this tells us that we have no buyers. Okay, and so currently we're advertising low prices on the S&P 500 in an attempt to try to onboard some people to draw price higher. And so what I'm watching for now, this is a weekly chart, I'm looking for price to break down. We have this. If we have a look, I better go for on the daily to have a look, but we have this area of weekly demand. If we go to the daily chart, you can see that it's pretty messy. Okay, so let's just leave this weekly one here. So we're having price beginning to gap down. We have upward sloping weekly and daily trend lines. The software is drawn for us. Currently we're testing those. We're looking at the very edge of this area of weekly demand, and we're starting to have a bit of a bounce at that area. But this is really interesting just here. If you look at the price of the S&P 500 during the last crash, if we just scroll back and have a look at that, we should be able to see it pretty easily. Here we are, 2008. Let's go to the weekly, monthly maybe. You can see just here. Okay, so we had beginning of 2008. You have it just here. I mean, we weren't seeing gaps occur even then, and that was because this was kind of an unknown. But note that the price did manage to rather efficiently trade before it managed to gap lower. Okay, and so this lasted from, I mean, the S&P lost, we go from this high here, this was the 30th of September 2007 to the low, which was, it's a little small, let's say the 30th of February 2009. So we have about a 2-year period here. I mean, price just raced lower. So these are very, very low prices for this, and this was a pretty rapid decline considering what happened. This was a very severe market crash. Okay, and we're starting to see some pretty interesting stuff go on here. If we go back to this time from here, I mean, the decline during last year's or the previous recession looked like this. If you look at this, I mean, this looks pretty serious. Okay, we have no proof yet. We have market structure that's holding, so we might have another parabolic push higher, like another bull run, because we're advertising these low prices. But once we start to take out this weekly supply, then I think it's a very clear sign that this market is going to move substantially lower. A good friend of mine, an institutional trader, has already started to sell the S&P 500, taking on substantial position sizes. So the fact that that she is doing this is really telling me that, okay, that there's something that we need to be paying attention to. Okay, and if we have a look here, you can see that we're reacting to this monthly, weekly demand below price. You can see that we're starting to gap lower here, and so if you look at this, we are starting to see areas of supply begin to form. Okay, if we have a look on the smaller time frames, you can see this is very clear, and this is a nice closed gap, and so this would be a tremendous area to begin to accumulate some orders for a potential move lower. Okay, you can see the price gap. This is the weekend. This is a Friday last week. This is the open on Monday, and there were no buys in here, so price had to gap all the way down before we found some people who were looking to get involved. So this is interesting. We need to be paying attention to here, and so I'm saying that we have a potential big, like a very high potential for price to move lower off of this. So I think we should be paying attention to that. And so for the time being, we have market structure that's holding, so I'm not doing anything yet, but I'm absolutely positively looking to begin to accumulate some short orders here. And ideally, I would like to get in up here and higher, but I don't know if price is going to go up there. Okay, this is a very clear sign that when price got up here, we started to distribute 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 5 days, a trading week of liquidity being distributed to drive price lower, and then we closed and we gapped. This is huge. This is really, really big. So I'm thinking if price manages to come back up to the lows of this just here, then I think it would be a pretty interesting place to begin to find some trades to move price lower. So cascading orders from up here, then throughout this area of supply just here. Okay, so this is really interesting, very interesting to us. But we don't know what's going to happen, but this is big. When this happens, serious things start to happen. Okay, so you can see this very clearly here in this time frame. Okay, so we actually gap below the low of the previous week. Okay, so let's keep an eye on that and see what happens. So shorts in the S&P 500 I think are on the radar, so we'll see what happens there. Okay, let's have a look at the American dollar, the Swiss franc. See, we're still in a long trades. We've been holding these for at least a week now, picking up some potential swaps on the weekly. It's pretty clear what's going on. So we had here, oops, wrong thing. We have this here. We poked into that area. This is a weekly area we poked in, and so we started to accumulate some orders in anticipation of a move higher. Okay, so we're poking in this weekly area of demand. This is a nice area because we had a tremendous push higher from here, reacting at this area of demand. Okay, we have accumulation which pushed price higher, poked into that. So here's like a parent child. Price had to go, didn't make it, had to go a little deeper, and here we have a nice deep push. So we're in the lower half of this area of weekly demand. So I'm expecting price to move higher. We also left this beautiful liquidity void in its wake. We have area of supply just here. It's a continuation pattern, so don't know what's going to happen there, but this is definitely an area you want to watch should this trade work out, move higher up into here. But essentially we do have this area of supply at the top on the backside of this trend line. When price left here, we managed to cause market structure to fail, taking out these major lows here. Okay, so yeah, looking to buy for the time being. So we'll hold this and see what happens, and then we'll have to see what happens if price manages to come up here. If price manages to move down here, we could very well begin to feed into this area of parent demand that we saw below price. Okay, so below here, so for this area of demand, this is the beginning of the buy zone here, so you could kind of poke into here before we manage to move higher. But for the time being, I'm thinking the price would probably attract some buying because price is at a discount price. We've entered the window of value, so expecting prices to wriggle higher for the shorter term. Okay, we have the American dollar, Japanese yen. The same thing happened here, where we had this weekly area of supply we saw just here. Okay, I heard a lot of chatter in the chat room about price going up and down and up and down and up and down. Oh, it's rallying. Oh, it's selling off. Oh, it's rallying. It's selling off. When you're looking at the weekly chart, you don't care what's happened on the smaller time frames. You can simply sit back and wait. Actually, it's drawn incorrectly. This is the area of supply. Okay, when price pokes into a weekly area of supply, you have to be patient. You have to sit on your hands and you have to wait. Okay, so we got a few trades on there. We got in here initially, just here, around here, and then we got in again at the highs of here. We're hoping that price would come up here, but we didn't make it. But we have some really nice trades on here. We got 2-to-1s on the sells up at the top here, and we got some pretty nice runs of this area here. Price went up. We got about a 1-to-1 on this one here. The stop was pretty far up into this area of weekly supply, and we got a 1-to-1 on that. Okay, and that was the one that paid for the stop on the second position. So ideally, I could have left the second position over, but I'm not. I'm getting out. But we could easily hold this lower because we do not have any demand here. We're currently reacting at the backside of this area of supply. Okay, so we have kind of a flip zone, kind of price formed, tested, cut through, and then bouncing. So resistance becomes support, which is why I decided to get out of this area here. So we've got about 70 pips on those two trades, which was quite beautiful. Okay, for the reasons that we just outlined. And this is the area of daily supply that we sold at. Price didn't really care much about it, did it? We kind of went up to it, cut through it. And this is for obvious reasons. And why is this obvious? It's obvious because price traded here, here, and here. So this is not a fresh area of supply that we could look to sell at. And the reason is because, price has already been back to this area. Okay, the only area that's fresh is this one here. Price already is pointing to the edge of the sell zone. Price came up to the edge of the sell zone. This is where we started to see these moves lower, and ultimately this nice push below here. Okay, so pretty interesting development there on that trade. If we have a look at the American dollar, Canadian dollar, let's go clear everything off. Monthly, what's going on? We have lower lows and lower highs. Okay, so that's clear. That's very, very clear. But note that we are moving into the beginning of this monthly buy zone. We've moved deep into it, and now we're starting to push higher. We have this area of supply, which was tested monthly. Go to the weekly. So we do have monthly demand that's currently driving price, but note as well that the beginning of the buy zone is actually here. So I'm expecting price to wriggle lower. And so I'd be comfortable selling somewhere up here in anticipation that price is going to continue looking lower. But also notice here, selling here, price has already traded at this area here and here. The only area, fresh area, is kind of around the top area of this monthly supply. So I'd be super keen to sell up here, kind of the higher, the upper edge of this monthly supply, and ultimately this lovely area of monthly supply at the top here, which has not yet been tested. Okay, price has just traded at this area before, and so I'll be keen to sell from about these highs and above. Okay, for a longer term kind of a hold. Either way, we're not going to really lose or earn very much swap on this pair, so you can trade either way. But I think for longer term, I'd be looking to sell a lot higher, or buy once price comes down to this weekly area of demand, which it still has to do. It has not managed to reach that area, but we are also, if you look at channels, mean deviation, we do have kind of price moving in a downward sloping. That's not a very pretty channel, is it? Kind of a little downward sloping thingy here, kind of moving down. So expecting the price manages to move up before it continues lower, I think is maybe a natural expectation based on what we can see here. Yeah, so I think like selling higher or buying a lower down here would be pretty interesting. If we look at the American dollar, Singaporean dollar, we have a look on the monthly. We have a bit of confusion. As you can see, we have a high, low, lower high, higher low, higher high, and then price moved lower. So we managed to move through here, from here. The price did not really manage to form an area and then hold away trade. It kind of formed the area, left, and then came back. Okay, so there's There's not a lot of imbalance here, but I do, if price manages to poke up into here very quickly without forming demand in the move higher, then I think this would be an attractive place to sell. Also because we do have trend line like this, low, high, higher, low, higher, high, starting to break it. So if this candle manages to close below this trend line, well, that will make this attractive to sell. Let's have a look on the weekly. You can see pretty clearly that we have, go back here quick, mark this off, from here to here, supply, there to there, supply, nested, and we got it there. It's a pretty interesting area to sell just there, selling American dollars, buying Singaporean dollars, which I quite like. I quite like this because I'm holding a lot of Singaporean dollars. We bank in Singapore now, and so this would be pretty interesting. I think a really nice place to begin to accumulate some short orders. But if you look at this, this is not, I mean, this is, we have sharp pushes lower and we have retracement. So this is not supply. Okay, this is not supply. This is supply. So I'd be much more comfortable selling there because this is supply. Okay, let's just do that. Let's go like that. This is supply. Boom. This is price consuming liquidity, and then a cutaway. Okay, so this is supply, this is a retracement, this is the child, this is the parent. So shorts at about the I can't see what that says. Let's remove. Yeah, so the 130, about the 13700 area would be a really nice place to begin to sell. So if you have a TransferWise account and you're holding American dollars at about 136.90 or 137, and start buying Singaporean dollars and expect to hold it for a few months. That would be very interesting, because if we continue to move up like that and we stay inefficient all the way up to this area here, I mean, that's beautiful, because then we have liquidity vol in its wake, and so we'll look to rebalance at the base of this move up into this supply that we can see here. So I'm holding, I don't know, I don't have you have some American dollars. When price comes up to here, then I'm going to start to buy Singaporean dollars at about that price level. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. And we also have in this area, at this area of supply, price managed to move below this low. So if you mark this off, you can see that we had this low, and this accumulation candle just here was the one that caused price to move below. So from about the 137 and above is a really good place to begin to accumulate some Singaporean dollars and reduce your holding of American dollars. Okay, I think that's a pretty nice area, as you can see here. Okay, so yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. We do have market structure beginning to fail, but this is expected because we are beginning to move up into here. Okay, so we're kind of poking into the beginning of the buy zone, which is, I mean, the demand is actually here. The buy zone is here. We're starting to poke into that. So this is expected price behavior, but we're not in demand yet. We're just at the beginning of the buy zone. Okay, so these are advertised lows. Last time we were down there, we attracted a lot of buying. We're just advertising these same lows, and so we can expect this to happen because we're at these very attractive low prices, and so there's a lot of flows moving from the American dollars into the Singaporean dollars. Sorry, Singaporean dollars into American dollars at these lows here, because this is a very nice price. Okay, and so this is what we have for the time being. So keep that in mind. Also keep this S&P. This is beautiful. I want to see some serious. I want to see, boom. I want to see closes. I want to see this happening. We have a candle like that. If we have kind of this, the next week we have a candle like that. Boom. I'm selling. There, I'll start to sell here once price eventually manages to wriggle back up to here. Then I'll just hold this down. You have to keep in mind that there is a potential recession. A lot of people have been talking about this for a long time. Interest rates are very, very low. Corporate debt is very, very high. Pension funds in the US, I mean, how are they capitalizing? How are they creating returns? They're buying corporate debt. We're at the end of a 9 to 10 year business cycle. What does that mean? That means we're we're up for a huge pullback. Okay, so when this happens, I mean, serious things are gonna hit the. I can't even imagine what will happen. But pension funds in the U.S. owning so much corporate debt. Yeah, in the situation that we do have a bit of a pullback, a bit of a recession, some of these pension funds are going to start to suffer, and unfortunately, a lot of these pensioners who are dependent on these pension funds are going to suffer even more. So this is kind of, these are serious signs that something big is just around the corner. So I would really I'd be mindful of this. I would start paying attention to what's going on. Okay. Good. I had all my pension paid out about a year ago because I was paying attention to this, and I have pretty much lost faith in the welfare state. Essentially, I mean, in Scandinavia at least, I mean, owning these big pensions I think is a waste of money, because essentially you're paying for it yourself. You're getting a tax kickbacks if you accumulate a pension or put your money in pension funds, but I don't really think that the pension funds are going to be around when it's my time to put my feet up. And so I had everything paid out. I paid a whopping 55% tax, but that's fine. I'm comfortable with that. I'm taking that money and I'm investing that in the markets, making it work for me now. Because by the time I'm a pensioner, that 55% tax that I've paid will probably be a lot cheaper than what I'll have to pay when I'm not really getting my pension paid out because of this financial crash. And so this is big. Okay, this is really big. So keep that in mind, and just be careful. And if you have any questions, please send them in the forum or comment this video. Thanks for watching.